who, by the way, we never outright discuss her sexuality, but there's an energy there,
Oh yeah.
that you feel off of her. And I
Mhm.
love that.
How are you, Ariana?
I am so good. I literally was like, Tracy's my favorite. This is great.
Well, you're my favorite, so it works out. Well, thank you for speaking with me today.
Always.
Yeah, and I want to say congratulations on House of Spoils. This is a ride, Ariana.
It is. It's
It
different. And I'd like to think it's a deliciously disgusting journey.
absolutely. I had to watch like this for quite a bit.
Oh, really? You don't like horror films?
I like them. I'm just squeamish.
It's okay. I'm a big fraidy cat. Like the scariest thing I normally watch is like Skeleton Key, and half of that is like that one eye. So
Yeah, relatable, especially like food horror. That's really hard for me.
I respect it. I really do. And honestly, there are days I didn't realize when I said yes to making the film, just how gross some of the dishes would be.
Yeah.
But also, it's all a part of the storytelling too, which
Yes.
I think is really fun. But yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yes. And so I want to kind of go into that a little bit. Would you talk a little bit about Chef? And
Mhm.
she has this drive and ambition, as everyone should, to, do their own thing to get out from these male mentors. I mean, the restaurant world is very toxically masculine. And she has this drive to get out from underneath that and start her own thing. Would you talk a little bit about just that kind of basic drive that she has?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I really kind of empathized with and can connect with. Like, I am a very ambitious human being, so the want to step out into your own kind of lane and carve a path for yourself, I really understand. And I think what was so fascinating for me about her journey is, you know, acknowledging that she was essentially like forged in the fires of this
Mhm.
environment that is riddled with toxic masculinity, but having to grapple with just how intrinsically ingrained it's become in her.
Mhm.
And I think there are women in the workforce that do can relate to that in the moments of like taking on more leadership responsibility and realizing like, oh, that's actually not me. It's something I heard. I don't want to be that leader. I want to be this. And because I do think patriarchy can be its own haunted house. So you
Mhm.
watch Chef go through this journey and deal with some spirits and interference from the other side, in addition to all the things that come with trying to start a restaurant on your own. And it makes for, again, an interesting ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's so essential here is that food is many things, which the film explores. It is art, it can be entertainment when you just go
Mhm. Of
out and have a little pizza or something. It's
course.
also at its core sustenance. And
Yes.
especially, it's also about caring. Like when you can provide that for someone or yourself, that is about caring as well. And so the thing I think this film does really well is it's about fine dining, which is inaccessible to so many people and so rarefied. And I love the way it kind of pokes at that. Would you talk about that?
Oh, that's so interesting. And honestly, Tracy, you were the first person to ask about that. Like,
Well,
so well done, you.
thank-
I do think, I was very taken with kind of the dichotomy of that, with like how Chef presents. And she's not the face that you believe you're going to meet when you walk into a fine dining experience. And
Mhm.
yet she still wants to do this. And that is her goal. And I thought that was really admirable of trying to find the way that she does that successfully, you know? So it's very logical that you take on some toxic traits because traditionally that is can be a very elitist world, that does feel impenetrable. And, it's like her mentor says at the beginning, you got to cook with your balls. You have to like the taste of blood. It's that headiness. Um, so I thought it was really interesting to go on a ride with the chef in my physical embodiment. Who, by the way, we never outright discuss her sexuality, but there's an energy there,
Oh yeah.
that you feel off of her. And I
Hmm.
love that because you shouldn't have to be expected to walk in a room and, shout your sexuality first. You're a whole human.
Yes.
Um, and and that I think is really beautiful to watch those sharp edges that she holds so fast to try and fit into the box of fine dining. You watch those edges round over time.
Hmm.
But she has to go through some spooky shit to do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Well, thank you. It's a beautiful answer as always.
I talk
And
too much. It's terrible.
no, you're great. You're great. You are always say the perfect thing. And I want to ask you a little bit about, well, the writer directors are women,
Yeah.
and so it's a horror film, and it's feminist, and there's also a lot of humor in it. Would you talk a little bit about working with these women?
Oh, I loved, we call them beans. That's their like professional nickname. Um, I'm actually not sure where that came
Yeah.
from, to be frank. But Danielle Crudy and Bridget
Franks and
Savage
Beans.
Cole. Yeah, yeah, maybe. They've been friends for a very long time and came up in the entertainment industry on the crew side of things. But they offered me this part, and I read the script, loved it, and then became aware of their film Blow the Man Down, which was their first feature. So the movie we made is only their second feature. And I love that. They're so curious and they bring this like fresh, raw, hungry energy to movie making that I think you can really kind of feel in our film. It's beautiful, but it's not insatiable, but it has this quality that's so interesting. And they were really fantastic partners in helping me and also my colleagues, Ariane Moayed and Barbie Ferreira, like craft these characters and making them highly relatable. And I do think that's why you feel humor within it because some of these situations are comical. And I, again, like that is life. You can be in the worst situation and someone says something really dumb, like, what's prosciutto?
Yeah.
And you're like, really? That's what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I loved working with them. I really can't say enough. And it was, I worked with Gabriella Cowperthwaite on ISS, and
Yes.
so to then have the opportunity to work with a female directing and screenwriting duo, that was a really cool experience that I wanted, um, and I hope to have again. So
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you. And you've mentioned the spirits, and so there were women who lived on this property, and of course the townspeople saw these self-sufficient uh, women who were powerful as a threat,
yeah,
as an other. This is a timeless, timely uh,
yeah,
theme. Would you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. It that was one of the themes or storylines that I also really loved because I do think it's an age-old story, a tale as old as time. Like I don't know how many times we need to hear it. Do not judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
What is a witch but a woman who knows her own mind and her own power? We're watching it play out today.
Hmm.
The presidential election. Leadership is good leadership no matter the gender. Just because, a healing technique is shown to you by a woman, that does not make her a witch. Like it makes her educated,
Yeah.
right? And I think there we have somehow gotten into this pattern of being afraid of what we don't inherently understand instead of being open to learning. I'm very unclear when learning became a danger.
Yeah.
I'm unclear at when that happened, but we're living in that time. I mean, we're looking at book bans for different reasons, and a myriad of other things going on in the United States specifically. But again, it's part of why I wanted to make this movie. There are subtle ideas and themes that I think you can process in the context of this subject matter. I have, come to find that horror as a genre is look, I might not be watching it as a viewer all of the time, but I respect it because I think there's something that allows people to process. And maybe it is the sensation of being scared into it. Maybe that's the entrance point to processing. You have to first be afraid in order to relax into understanding. I think that can be a strength, but you gotta be willing to get to that point of wanting to understand.